It's like you need me to make fun of you.
Let me take you to a time back in 2010. Percy Jackson fans are ablaze as a movie adaptation of their favourite book is being made. And then we get this. So people are not happy, which is an understatement because the fandom went insane with criticism. And the biggest hater of them all, the author Ricky Boy. But we move forward in time now to 2023. The corporation known as Disney gets to be the hero for the first time since they bought Star Wars, and a faithful adaptation is made. Or was it? I mean, yeah, okay, more faithful, but the bar was literally on the ground. Either way, I want to review the show and the book to see how much it lives up to the idea of it being an accurate interpretation to the actual source material. And honestly, as I watched and read, I noticed more differences than I expected. So let's have a look together. All is for book 1 and season 1, but I will not be mentioning anything past that for the TV show fans only, all 3 of you who haven't read the books. So what is Percy Jackson about? Percy is a boy suffering with ADHD and dyslexia. I wonder why I relate to him so much. Either way, he discovers that not only is he the son of Poseidon, but also targeted by gods and monsters alike. It turns out that the king of gods unfortunately has misplaced his favourite toy, and lo and behold, his brother has an illegal child. So he must be the lightning thief. With his mother seemingly dead, he is now on a quest to Hades to retrieve the lightning bolt and hopefully save his mum. We are then exposed to what can only be described as absolute elite world building. But despite absolutely loving the books, I felt like the show was just okay. Something about it bothered me and I couldn't quite put my finger on it until I watched the show back to back while reading the book. And I realized what was the itch that I couldn't quite scratch. That is what this video in essence is about. There is a trend I noticed in the show, where a lot of Percy's achievements are either downplayed or key moments are sort of spread amongst the cast. For example, Sally uses the red jacket to distract the Minotaur, which was originally Percy's idea. Percy also doesn't carry Grover across the camp line after the Minotaur attack. Annabeth is the one that sees the fates, and their escape from the Lotus Hotel is different too. Percy and Annabeth remember because they were together?
We weren't alone. It's easy to forget what's important when you're alone.
Huh? I don't like that, I ain't gonna lie. They changed it in the movie too. Like, why is it such a big deal to have Percy figure it out on his own? Out of the 3 of them, it is his quest. He has the strongest motive to save his mum. It makes sense that he would be the first one who wants to leave. What in the power of friendship is this? I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was watching Fairy Tale. On the flip side of this is, why do they keep separating the gang? Like, Grover doesn't come to the water park and Annabeth doesn't come to meet Hades like in the book. Now you might be thinking I'm nitpicking, and I am. I mean, a lot of this video probably will be, but I would argue this next part is really important. There is a significant character trait that makes Percy unique within his world. He is rude to the gods. Now, when I first watched the show, I thought the problem was that he wasn't rude to the gods like in the books. But then I realized that isn't actually the problem. It just looks like the problem. There are plenty of moments where he is.
And if you aren't careful, you're gonna find out. Your son, he turned on you the moment someone stronger showed up.
The problem is, it is less special because other characters are also dicks to the gods. In the books, Grover and Annabeth literally have maybe 2 lines whenever there is a god around, and usually it is to settle Percy down. They treat the gods like kings that need to be listened to and respected at all costs, almost like all-powerful children you don't want throwing a tantrum. Rightly so, Percy is threatened to be turned into both a dolphin and a cockroach. Annabeth literally hates Ares and yet still says, "We can't," Annabeth said. "Look, I hate Ares as much as anybody, but you don't ignore the gods unless you want serious bad fortune." In the show, she tells off her Pegasus, the blacksmith, and Hermes. She literally steals his keys. That is the ultimate form of disrespect, not to mention giving him a talking to. That is not something Book Annabeth would dare to do. Part of the reason the lightning bolt was so easy to steal was because they didn't think anyone would dare to. You won't believe how easy it was. The Olympians are so arrogant. They never dreamed someone would dare steal from them. When Annabeth said,
Power and glory and nothing else matters. He's better than that.
I was like, no, that doesn't make sense. Most of the kids aren't raised in Camp Half-Blood and are found around this age. It is sort of what makes Annabeth special in a way. She was discovered younger than most. That isn't what makes him different. What makes Percy different and defines his relationship with the gods is that he has a problem with authority. It isn't that he wants to be disrespectful, it's more like he can't help himself. If he doesn't like you, he will tell you, and the gods aren't used to that. You're a jerk. Annabeth and Grover caught their breath. But honestly, I sort of get it. They really downplayed the gods in the show. In the book, before the scene where he returns the bolt, there are 3 gods that we actively meet: Dionysus, Ares, and Hades. That's it. Each of them are so powerful they affect the mood of Percy just by being around them. Hades' aura was affecting me just as Ares had. Also, despite being emotional and petty, they also have this air of indifference. Mr. D hates being at camp and honestly feels like this is all beneath him.
Son.
Dad?
Yes, Peter?
Mr. D wouldn't lie to Percy because he wouldn't feel like he needed to. He just tells him what he wants and it gets done. He is a god. He is used to everyone bowing to his will. Ares, I guess I didn't mind too much, but having Grover manipulate him of all people, like, where is the aura? They just turned him into a bratty, complaining teenager, which is a shame because the actor looks perfect for the part. He genuinely looks like a Spartan warrior. But out of all of them, he's the one that I'm most okay with because Ares was also a bit bratty in the books. But the biggest disappointment of them all, which is no shock to anyone, is Hades. You want me to believe this goat-looking motherfucker is Hades, god of the underworld, one of the most powerful being alive? This man should be playing Pan. No hate on the actor, but come on. Hades is described in the book as this god amongst gods. Even Percy mentions he's on a whole different level. He was the 3rd god I'd met, but the first one who really struck me as godlike, which sort of makes him the only god that Percy is actually respectful to at this point, which only adds to the aura of Hades. I also feel like they lost 2 key aspects to his character that added subtle depth to him later. Firstly, he's overworked. This is such a funny but clever thing to add in. The human population is growing and death is increasing. I find it hilarious that Hades is like, I'm rich, but this is too much. I used to be a rich god, Percy Jackson. I control all the precious metals under the earth, but my expenses. In the show, we just get
candy canes and rainbows down here. I'm managing just fine.
2. Hades' palace looks like Olympus. It sort of tells the reader that in a prideful way he wants to be part of Olympus even though he can't be. He wants to prove that he doesn't need them by building his own, but at the same time sort of shows he wants to be there. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, this is the 2nd time they got Hades wrong, and honestly Percy Jackson the book has the best version of Hades, and would it absolutely kill them to just do it that way? This god is the Doctor Doom of Greek mythology. Hermes is not in the 1st book, and I do not understand why they shoehorned him in. Look, I'm a huge Hamilton fan. I have the soundtrack downloaded on my Spotify, and I'm not even against the casting. He looks kind of like a postman. I think we can all agree on that. But each god they introduced made the problem I'm discussing bigger as they become less special. It also makes 0 sense for the Lotus Hotel to be his home base considering what we know happens later. I won't spoil anything in case you are a TV show only watcher, but I will put a clue on the screen for those who have read the books but don't know what I'm talking about. The only one who lives up to the idea of being a god and has that aura is Zeus. Bro felt like a god. Crazy eyes that said, don't disrespect me or I will smite you. But the one thing I'd forgotten in the books is how many times Zeus almost kills Percy on his quest. He is the one that crashes the car when they're being chased by the Minotaur, and he blew up the bus that Percy was on. The windows of the bus exploded as the passengers ran for cover. Lightning shredded a huge crater in the roof. This motherfucker tried to kill Percy more times than Hades did. But it is time to move on to Daddy Dearest, Poseidon. Okay, so the movie did this as well, and I don't understand it. Why do they keep implying that Poseidon is a good dad? Look, as far as the gods are concerned, Poseidon is one of the better-ish parents. He isn't all lovey-dovey. He literally calls Percy a mistake. Still, I am sorry you were born, child. Sure, he is grateful for Percy's help, but at the end of the day, he is using Percy for his own ends. It creates a lot of internal conflict for Percy as he doesn't know where he stands with Poseidon or how he feels about him. I got the feeling that Poseidon didn't really know what to think of me. He does help Percy on his quest, but in a self-serving way. He doesn't wait for Percy in the river.
Sorry. He waited as long as he could.
He doesn't give him 4 pearls to save his mum. And his heart-to-heart at the end is more like, your mum is hot, you did a good job, I wish you were never born.
Fly, son.
I will say though, the scene of Sally praying to Poseidon was really fantastic and completely unique to the show. A lot of emotional depth that really did emphasize the struggles of being a single mum. As a guy who was raised by one, the stress and the anxiety that Sally displayed, as well as the strength she showed, was really moving.
And it's gonna be hard for the both of you.
Weirdly one of the best scenes in the whole show. Does it justify the change to Poseidon? Maybe? But also I have no idea what this meant.
I surrender.
What does surrender look like in this context? Poseidon has to give up the Atlantic Ocean or something. Maybe we'll find out in season 2. All that being said, I think Toby Stephens is an underrated actor. I loved him in Black Sails, and I think he plays this version of Poseidon perfectly. Emotional but mysterious. There was another character they massively softened, and that is Luke. In the first book, Luke is a straight up villain. He is trying to kill Percy and complete his mission. At first, he summons a hellhound into camp, which, okay, fair, was not intended to kill Percy, just to scare him so he would be encouraged to go on his quest. But he doesn't know. You summon a monster from the pits of hell, shit happens. But in the end, when he runs off, straight psychopath vibes. He has a sword designed to be able to kill mortals, which is a big no-no. Works on mortals and immortals both. I thought about what Chiron had told me when I started my quest, that a hero should never harm mortals unless absolutely necessary. And he summons a scorpion to kill Percy. Percy was meant to die. If I had time, Percy, I could explain, but I'm afraid you won't live that long. They make him more sympathetic in the show, being like, we can go on the run together and I want you on my team.
I am your friend, Percy. None of this was meant to betray you.
Rather than, I'm just here to kill my biggest threat and run to Kronos. That being said, I'm withholding judgment whether this was a good change or a bad change until season 2 and beyond. Because they might actually change it for the better, but consider me skeptical. Also, from a storytelling perspective, I'm trying to imagine I hadn't read the books. Erase it from my memory. They showed too much of Luke in the final episode while also emphasizing I will be betrayed by a friend. It is very on the nose. The book had most of Luke's time at the beginning and much more time spent in the camp itself after the quest, so the reveal, while not mind-blowing, still had teeth. The show smacks you over the head with it and then continues to beat you to death with it. It just wasn't very shocking. Now Grover. Grover was not chosen by Percy to go on the quest. He's almost forced. He wants his Seeker's license and they outright say, Percy is your responsibility. If he goes on a quest, you have to go with him. Tying Grover and Annabeth to the prophecy about being betrayed by a friend and him choosing wasn't a terrible idea, but it also sort of begs the question why he could only take 2 people. In the book, they just happened to be the only 2 who volunteered. Grover's usefulness is also changed. In the book, he's almost like a scout. His ability to talk to animals is what progresses them a number of times, and he proves his usefulness that way. I don't know why they took this away from him and replaced it with this weird, socially awkward buddy thing.
Oh golly, the road's getting bumpy cause I got me some friends who just...
I mean, in the book, he can literally read emotions, smell them. So I don't think he would be socially awkward. And now, as in every video, we get to the character that I felt was most assassinated. I shall be calling this part Rant Corner, and I think we all know who it is. Sadly, it's Annabeth. Time to talk about the elephant in the room. She looks different in the show. She isn't blonde. Seriously though, ooh, she isn't black in the books, blah blah blah. I don't care. Although I have to say I find it funny that the 2 characters who are blonde, Annabeth and Luke, are given dark hair, while Percy, who famously has black hair, is made blonde. But I do not discriminate based on hair color. What I care about is that Annabeth's character loses so much depth in this version. Annabeth in the books was the perfect female character to match Percy. She was a girl boss, yes, but she wasn't one-dimensional. She was a smart warrior, but she had character traits beyond that. She wants to be an architect, she's scared of spiders, had trouble with her dad, and a trait that I especially missed, she was nervous around Luke. It was obvious she had a crush on him. She madly straightened her dirty t-shirt, trying to comb the loose hair out of her face. And I don't know about you, but when I read Luke's betrayal for the first time, my only thought was, oh god, Annabeth is going to be crushed. Her brother Crush has betrayed them. And she wasn't even at the betrayal. Percy told her after. But in the show, she was literally there and all we got was...
Annabeth?
I heard everything.
It just felt like they focused on one of the aspects that people really liked, me included. I actually really liked that side of her, but forgot about all the other stuff that also made her interesting. Another bit that bothered me was that she was watching Percy get his ass beat by the Ares kids. In the book, she uses him as bait to win capture the flag. It was a tactical move, but she came back to save him. I came back as fast as I could. I was about to jump in. In the show, she's just standing there watching him get brutalized, meaning she doesn't give a flying fuck about the game, which kind of goes against the point. It's meant to be an important thing for them to win. Although the other side of this, which is hilarious, is when Percy says,
if the mission required someone to push me down a flight of stairs for it to succeed, you want someone who won't hesitate when they do it.
like, no, she isn't the only one. I bet you Clarissa would push you down the stairs without it even being needed for the quest, just on her way to breakfast as a to-do list. Hell, most of the camp would probably sacrifice you to achieve the quest. Not necessarily saying that he shouldn't bring her along, I'm just saying that motive seemed a bit weak to me. Annabeth is the embodiment of the change that bothered me in the show. In the show, they are heroes who happen to be children. In the book, they are children who are forced to be heroes. Is a small but important distinction. They get distracted easily, confused, and keep going on side quests. They go to the Gateway Arch not because it's a temple to Athena, but because Annabeth wants to go sightseeing. Sightseeing? The Gateway Arch, she said. This may be my only chance to ride to the top. Like, that's interesting. I think they removed it from the show because they felt like it made the quest seem less important, but to me it made the kids feel more like kids. With Medusa, they are hungry and tired and just want a hot meal. The show made everything more streamlined and purposeful, going from scene to scene, which yes, made them look smarter, but took away some of that child wonder. They knew who Medusa was, which, fair, is the most forgivable, because goddamn, but they knew what the Lotus Hotel was. Why? I bet if I went on Google, I could find a ton of things named Lotus. I don't know, kids finding themselves in these situations felt more real and adventurous to me. And it isn't a plot hole to have them constantly stumbling into things like it would in other media because we know the gods manipulate things. I will say though, it isn't all bad. Annabeth having hatred for the Furies and having that sort of personal confrontation made so much sense considering her history with Talia. In the book it's mentioned but never shown. I felt that emotional aspect was a good addition, to be fair. I also want to be clear, I like the actress. She does become better later in the show when they actively show her softer side. I just wish I didn't have to wade through this bossy warrior Annabeth to get there. There is also another aspect that made me feel this hero to child change, and it's that Percy keeps trying to sacrifice himself. I get it, he is a hero, but why? He tries to sacrifice himself several times and honestly it got a bit old. Like, find a different solution. Try to live, brother. The monster thing was fine. In the book, he sort of gets isolated rather than locking them out. I didn't mind it because it did feel like something he'd do. But the chair scene was such an unnecessary addition. And not only because why are you introducing this god in the first season, like leave some for later, but also the idea of it being live streamed to Olympus was funny. It created risk that wasn't necessarily death, but embarrassment. And then Percy at the end going, "Show's over," I yelled. "Thank you, good night." Once again showed he doesn't give a flying fuck. At the end of the day, he still is a 12-year-old boy. He shouldn't be so willing to die even if he is a hero. Percy's just weirdly too emotionally mature. He lacks his rebellious streak, his impulsivity. Like, the ADHD thing is basically abandoned after the first episode. Sure, him and Annabeth bicker, but otherwise he seems pretty in control of his emotions. Again, it sucks to say because I do like the actor who plays him and I know he is capable of it. I've seen it. There are moments, but I want it dialed up for the next season. I want to feel the ADHD radiate so I can relate. Also, his powers are sort of presented slightly differently. He is less reliant on the water. In the book, both when he beats Ares' kids and especially when he's fighting Ares himself, he only stands a chance because of his water-based power-up. It is made clear that his strategy is to stay in the water to give himself this boost. I kept my feet in the surf, backing into the water up until my ankles. Plus, this whole fountain scene makes no sense.
Maybe it needs to be naturally running water for Poseidon to be able to heal him.
In the books, he literally recovers from a bucket of water. Luke poured ice water on his head, which looked like such a good idea. I did the same. Instantly, I felt better. Strength surged back into my arms. Where is this idea that you need running water coming from? I don't know, overall Percy felt neutered, Annabeth felt one-dimensional and Grover was just sort of awkward. Now there are a few other details that are changed. Let's start with Sally, Percy's mum. Okay, so Sally is much more, how do I put this, confident than she is in the first book. Honestly, in the first book, her relationship with Gabe is actually really dark if you pay attention to the finer details. The idea of her talking back to him and setting him straight is just something that doesn't happen. In the show we get,
"Sandwich,
Not if you're gonna ask like that.
I said please."
but in the book, Percy made it clear that she only stands up to him in two ways, blue food and not taking the name. I think they wanted to make her more fierce, like the mother of a hero. And I didn't hate it, this idea that she's preparing him for stuff. But honestly, it felt like her sacrifice was downplayed. This is a woman who endured an abusive relationship in order to keep her son safe. It was sad, but it made her brave in a different way than in the show. It was also more cathartic when she kills him. Yes, I feel like this is a part that is overlooked, because while Gabe in the show does find Medusa's head, it is an accident caused by his own greed and stupidity. He opened the package not for him. Honestly, it was kind of lucky that he got there before Sally did, because otherwise she would have been the statue. In the book, it's a straight up drive-by. Sally outright turns him into stone and sells what is essentially his dead body to fund a new life. She had sold her first life-size concrete structure entitled The Poker Player to a collector. On one hand, Jesus Christ is not only dark that Sally killed him but also profited off his corpse, but also crazy that a 12-year-old boy was about to kill him. On the other hand, he beat his mum, so honestly he got off easy. For the first time I realized something. Gabe had hit my mother. I didn't know when or how much, but I was sure he'd done it. Bro, I would have kept the lightning bolt just a little bit longer to zap him into a million pieces if it was me. Or called my dad to turn him into a fish and had sushi for dinner. But they couldn't do that in the show, as while shitty, Gabe's abuse was dialed down. Next, and don't judge me for this one, hear me out. Medusa is an absolute baddie. There is a rock hard joke here somewhere that does not need to be said. But hotness aside, they changed that whole scene. On one hand, I kind of get it because it made them look really naive. Auntie M with statues, like, seriously guys, take this more seriously. But also Medusa is a sort of famous SA victim in mythology, so making her more sympathetic is understandable. It's not necessarily politically correct to turn the victim into a monster. On the other hand, all roads lead to Rome. You cut off her head eventually. However, I will say using the hat to make her invisible to prevent you from looking into her eyes is such a great upgrade to the fight. Super creative, loved it. Next, the first fight with the Fury. In the book, she takes Percy away to a private space before attacking him, and honestly, this makes more sense. I understand that the mist means they can't see her transform, but the mist would still show a teacher attacking the student. It's sort of how it works. They can see the danger, they just can't process it. For example, I looked at Ares' weapon and it seemed to be flickering. Sometimes it looked like a shotgun, sometimes a two-handed sword. They can't see the sword, but they know something's up. They would just see a mad old lady attacking a child. But also quite a big one. What is this new law about monsters sensing emotions?
Some are better at sensing your inadequacy. Some your need for glory.
That is, interesting. In the book, it's more like they smell power. I mean, I guess it isn't a big deal, but I am pedantic. Look, I know I've spent most of this video shitting on this show, and I just want to be clear I didn't hate it or anything. If you want to see negative, just wait until my book versus movie video comes out. Considering I'm already editing it, it probably will be already out by the time you're watching this, so keep an eye out. I really love the books, as I'm sure you do too. You watched this whole video about it. Percy's probably my favorite book protagonist, almost matched by Annabeth. And like I said earlier, the world building is pretty much perfection, like incredible. It made me want to read Mythos. It was incredibly cool to see this story come to life, and honestly, maybe my own expectations were too high. Maybe. But it just felt like the spirit of the story wasn't quite there. The characters and the world buildings are shallow interpretation to their book counterparts. All that being said, I felt Clarissa was well done, and I am looking forward to season 2. Like I said, not a bad show, and if I was doing a video just on the show, it probably would be more positive. I was expecting this video to be more positive, to be honest, but it just doesn't look good compared to the books. However, at the end of the day, this is Rick's vision. If you abide by that, then you know you have to accept the show. His story to change as he sees fit. I'm just an idiot with a microphone, a small YouTube channel, and a tendency to overthink. But I really think this show has potential, and I hope they work on the stuff I mentioned in season 2. It is coming out real soon, and I will 100% be making a video on it, so subscribe and turn on that notification bell. We are in Percy Jackson season, and there are a few videos coming out on it. Also, let me know in the comment section below. What did you think of the show? Were there any changes in the show that you felt like I missed? Maybe you felt like I was being too harsh. You can call me a dick. Engagement is engagement. I obviously didn't cover everything. This video was long enough. Speaking of long enough, probably time for this video to come to an end. Click on the screen now if you enjoyed the sound of my voice. I hope you did. And want to see more. I love each and every one of you, unless you aren't a subscriber, and then I just really like you. Otherwise, have a great day and see you in the next video.